Today we are talking about the new updated Last VALOR Shrapnel guide, a very requested guide, so here we go. You can get this gun from the wish machine only. You can get it either by making a wish from Echoes from the Rift. Simply click add a wish. Items required, you need a wish stone, select this gun and then apply it. And then just get it from 10k star chrome after you roll. This gun is a physical gun, not elemental, so you will need stars on your gun and not armor pieces. Also, you can buy the gun from Blueprint Shop by pressing G on Wish Machine, go to Assault Rifle, and you can buy the scar over here. If you already own the blueprint, you can buy it again for extra 80 fragments, just like so. If you don't know how blueprint conversions work and how to get the fragments for it, I made 2 videos explaining that perfectly in here. Check them out. The links will be in description. Let's first understand how shrapnel works. So let's right click on the gun, click details, click X on I keyword. Now the way shrapnel works is when you trigger it, you will deal 60% of your damage from your base gun as shrapnel to a different random part. It is not elemental. It works the same way as your bullet damage, and most of the multipliers calculate the damage the same way. So for example, if you have weapon damage bonus, if you have elite or boss or common enemies, all of those will apply to your shrapnel damage. And if you don't know where to see your base damage or the attack, this would be your 555 damage, which 555, 60% of it would be 333 shrapnel damage. Now that you know how shrapnel works, let's get to the passive of the gun. When you hit the target 4 times, it will trigger shrapnel. If you crit, it will count as 2 hits, which means that you will need only 2 crit hits to trigger shrapnel once. And when you trigger crit, you will get +1 shrapnel trigger time for 1 second. This means that you will trigger extra 1 shrapnel when you crit. And you can see that as soon as you crit, you can see that there's a bar appearing over here. Or you can just see it above my health bar in the middle of the screen. It does say shrapnel trigger times. It is not a shrapnel hit part, as some shrapnel guns say that hitting a weak spot grants shrapnel target parts instead of trigger time. Now, if you want a video explaining in depth how triggers work on shrapnel and hit parts, the video link is going to be also in the description. It also explains how the gun works with any armor piece, like the beret and the gas tie helmet, as well as the cage helmet. All of those are explained in that video, so go watch it. And then lastly, the gun has extra 30% shrapnel crit damage, which only applies for your shrapnel. That shrapnel crit damage is additive to your crit damage. It is not a separate multiplier or anything. So we are gonna go through the mods, armor pieces that we have used for the gun and explain why we're using it for what. Now for the cradle, this will be your general use. So you'll want anti-void, tactical combo, deviant energy defense, deadly combo, invisible strike, bounty hunter, and then tactical leap. If you're using the Stardust double jump drink, which will be this. So all you need to do is just put the cradle on, and when you drink the double jump and you jump 2 times and stay in midair, you will get these stacks, as you can see, and you'll get 20% damage against deviants. This only works in silos and outside the world, not for everything. It doesn't work for light dreamers if you're an endless dream. In monoliths, this cradle will not work. That's why we didn't have it equipped. But if you're doing silos, you will need this. If you are using Fortress Warfare, then you can remove this one together with deviant energy defense if you don't really need that protection, and then put heavy strike together with steady hand. The heavy strike, you can actually keep 25% weapon damage after doing the axe. Simply, if you just hold your secondary gun, do the axe, quickly mark the target and swap. It does say that this will disappear after swapping weapons, but if you activate Fortress Warfare, if the Fortress Warfare didn't spawn yet until you swap to the gun, you will keep the 25% weapon damage. But if you swapped again after it spawned, you would lose the weapon damage. Of course, you will also want to use Mark Strike because that will give you 20% extra weak spot damage if you're shooting, if your shrapnel hits the weak spot, of course. But now with Last VALOR, you actually do not want to shoot in the head, because when you do, shrapnels will not hit in the weak spot, and they will actually hit only in the body parts like here or in the hands. So that's why you want to shoot only in the body, unless the boss that you're shooting has multiple weak spots, like the Manibus. Manibus has like 5 weak spots and only 1 hand. That's why you can actually shoot the flowers when dealing with Manibus. Now let's jump into the big sheet where you will see the optimal build for everything. This whole sheet will be in the description, the link for it, so check it out. Of course, if you guys also want to support me on Patreon, you can do that by going in the Patreon link down below in the description. And for that, you will get 50 plus PvP and PvE builds that are updated every single day. If you don't care, you can just go to my Discord, go to the Once Human Sheets channel, and you will find every single sheet in my Discord. So let's start with the full HP build right here. This would be for beginners, or if you are doing a scenario where you cannot utilize sanity. Let's say for the servitor, for example, it messes with your sanity a lot and keeps healing you when you're running the boss. So in that case, you could be using a full HP build, which will not interfere with your damage at all. So for the gun, let's first understand how the gun mods work. For the shrapnel, really, you will want to use shrapnel smash, since this gun relies on crit rate so much, as well as shrapnel relies on crit rate so much. You can use shatter them all only if you're using beret. As we are using gas tight on the helmet, the gas tight will only give you 15% shrapnel damage bonus if you put shatter them all mod. Since if we check beret will give you shrapnel hit part +1. That's all it does, and it's a purple armor piece. So as you can see, the shatter them all mod, the more hit parts you can have, the more damage you'll do. And it does say the more parts the shrapnel hits. This just means that the amount of shrapnels that you can hit. Basically, the very first shot that you do, this damage is already applied. For example, let me put a shatter them all mod. And if you just take a look, open inventory, click C in inventory menu, you see that I already have shrapnel damage bonus 15. If I unequipped it, we would lose it. So if you're using shatter them all, it's only good if you want quick burst damage for a 2 to 3 second window. If you would use shrapnel smash, it will beat shatter them all after 2 to 3 seconds of shooting, or 1. Basically, it's because when you trigger shrapnels, you get crit rate for that shrapnel, which means 30% from the shrapnel smash. It's a lot, and crit rate is needed for this car build. It makes your damage way more consistent, and of course, you'll see more yellow numbers popping up if you use shrapnel smash. I recommend to use Shrapnel Smash for everything, and I don't really recommend Shatter them all. The Shrapnel Souvenir mod will basically refill bullets for you when your shrapnel hits the weak spot. If the shrapnel hits more weak spots, you'll get more bullets basically. If you use beret, it's gonna hit an extra hit part, which means it can hit the weak spot as well. You will just keep refilling bullets more and more. But really though, we are using the gas tank helmet because the gas tank helmet actually gives you 150% shrapnel damage, which multiplies in general all your shrapnel damage, and it is separate multiplier. And it really depends if you're taking so long in the boss fight, and if you're running out of ammo, then use Souvenir. But if you can one mag the boss, use Smash, you will burst down the boss way quicker than you would with Souvenir. Now let's jump into the helmet mods. So you can use Weapon Symphony for the helmet, or you can use Momentum Up for the helmet. Weapon Symphony out damages Momentum Up in 2 to 3 seconds window, but as soon as 3 seconds pass, you will deal less damage than Momentum Up. The fire rate 10% will go to 4% fire rate increase, and the weapon damage from 25%, it will go to only 10%. Because if we took the 25%, we removed 40% of it, you would be ending up with 10 weapon damage. So same goes for the fire rate. If we have 10% fire rate, that 60% of 10 would turn into 4% fire rate. So this Weapon Symphony is only good if you're swapping your guns from secondary to main gun. Like let's say you swap from the Wildfire to Mark the Boss and then you swap back, you will basically have more damage and fire rate for 3 seconds. If you're bursting bosses down and you're speedrunning or want to kill things faster, you can use Weapon Symphony. Both work great. Now for Faithful Strike, this only applies if the mob doesn't have a weak spot, then you can use Faithful Strike. However, if the mob has a weak spot, just stick with Weapon Symphony or Momentum Up. For the mask, you will want to use Targeted Strike, and the reason, there are multiple mask choices, and you can use Shrapnel Carnage or Targeted Strike. Do not use Explosive Shrapnel, just don't. I'm not even going to explain why. There's no gun that really works with it. You will want, if you're going to be using the crossbow, then you will want Smart AP Arrow on it, because when you mark, you will get this buff over here, attack 10% for 3 seconds. When you do mark, you will deal extra 8% damage as a separate multiplier to the target. You can amplify it to 16% if you put a mod on the gun, which is Vulnerability Amplifier. As a subset, you can also choose Bullseye Duration 15%. That will make it extra 1.8 seconds duration mark, which in total you'll stay for 13.8 seconds. So you just need to mark and swap to your gun and start shooting. That's when you will use targeted strike. That will give you the highest damage output possible. And the reason why you were not using shrapnel carnage is because this damage is only applied, the damage is only applied weak spot damage for your shrapnels. It literally serves no purpose for your base bullet damage. For example, if you're shooting the gun, right, only the shrapnel that triggers and hits the weak spot will only deal the increased damage. While on the other hand, the targeted strike, it's dealing, the crit rate is for the shrapnel and for your base gun bullet damage. Now the last option for retrusion explosion is when you hit burning enemies, you get only 8% crit rate and crit damage 20%. This is only useful for mutation, and you generally don't want to use this ever unless you want to counter the mutation. And the mutation is over here listed in overall short presets. So for example, if you have this mutation that boss takes 70% damage in normal state and 125 damage when affected by consecutive buffs. This means that if it's burning or in frost vortex state, you'll deal more damage by 55% and you basically negate the damage reduction when it's burning. So that's when you want to use retrusion explosion on the mask, because you won't be using your secondary as bullseye weapon. You'll just be using boom boom or anything else to just make the target burn. For general use, you want to stick with targeted strike or carnage if you don't have a targeted strike. Now for the gloves mod, you want to go with crit boost. For general use, you can also use a crit amplifier, and the only difference is if you want to burst something quick, like if the boss you fight is easy to kill, takes like 4 to 5 seconds, and not like a huge long ass fight, then you can just put crit amplifier. If you need more crit rate, use crit boost. For the top piece, you can use any mod you want. For the shoes, we're using covered advance. You just don't take damage for 4 seconds and you will get the 20 seconds buff for covered advance. It's the best shoes mod for full HP build, there's nothing better. And for the dead shot on the pants, every time you will crit, you get crit damage up to 45%. It is the best mod you can put for the scar, unless you're not running crit build for the scar for some reason. And for the armor pieces, we will use is gas tight helmet, 4 lone wolf pieces, and 1 Bastille shoes. All of these armor pieces can be obtained from the blueprint shop. Just go scroll down and find the armor piece that you need and just buy it like so. Or you can just roll it from the Echoes from the Rift randomly by luck. You don't really care about upgrading the armor, since it's not elemental build, it doesn't matter. However, if you want more HP, every single star you upgrade, it will give you more HP as you level up. As you can see on 6 stars, you get 738 HP, while on 1 star you get only 590. If you care about survivability, you can upgrade your armor as well. You have to be full HP though for Bastille shoes to work, because if you're below 70%, you will not get 10% weapon damage. Or if you're always struggling to keep up at full HP, then just stick to 3 lone wolf pieces and just replace 2 scout pieces instead. That way you'll get weapon damage at all times. However, you will deal less damage if you don't use the setup. For the calibration, you want crit rate precision 2 times, exactly the same one that I have on my gun, crit rate 2 times. And for the food buffs, you will mainly want to use Stardust energy drink for silos, mushroom soup if you care about stamina, hot dog, and sausage. Now the reason why we're not using sausage is because, simply enough, mathematically you do less damage if you use hot dog with canned rather than hot dog sausage. So of course your shrapnel damage is going to be higher with hot dog and canned. As you can see, we do 3224, and with hot dog sausage we do only 3061. There you go, that's all the multipliers put in. Yeah, the math is mathin', right? Let's say we have 41 bullets in the mag, and out of 41 bullets we trigger all the shrapnels. Let's say we have 100% crit rate, which would basically trigger 21 shrapnels in 41 bullets, or 20, let's say 20 shrapnels. Let's take that 21 and multiply it with this damage. We would have this amount. That's our shrapnel damage. Now if you remove the shrapnel damage bonus, this is going to be our bullet damage basically. Every 1 bullet that you shoot, this will be this damage. So let's take that as well and multiply it with 41, because we have 41 bullets in the max size. Paste it here. This is our bullet damage total, and this is shrapnel damage total. 21 times, and then let's remove the shrapnel damage bonus. Take that and multiply by 41. And on the left, you can see it's hot dog with canned steak. And on the right, you can see it's hot dog with sausage. So this is literally better by like, I don't know, 3.6% or 4%, something like that. And that is why you want to use hot dog with sausage. For the mask hide, you want to use Starfall cowhide. If you do use the mushroom soup, which as you can see, look at my stamina, we gain so much more stamina, and we have almost 2 bars. That is considered almost 190 stamina or something. And if you combine that and put Wasteland Wolf skin on your pants and on your top piece, you will get more stamina and sprint speed. That will let you get this amount of stamina. And that way, on the mask, you will get 8% weapon damage, and total you will get 16% if you have above 120 stamina. Your 120 stamina is around here, so if you have less than this, you will not have that 8% extra. But if you just jump and you're airborne all the time, like this, you can just jump like this too. Cowhide will work. Now you can get the Starfall Cowhide from Original Wheel scenario servers or by just breeding gravity event animals, and that's how you get the Starfall Cowhide. Or you just do the gravity event pretty much. If you don't have Starfall Cowhide, then just stick to Golden Wool. It's a random amount of weapon damage that you get from 12% to 1%, so it's not going to be consistent, but it'll work as a cheaper option. For the deviation, you will want Lone Wolf or Zap Cam. Lone Wolf is used for close range fights and not airborne fights. Like if the mob is flying, Lone Wolf cannot reach that boss. Zap Cam will be used to mark that instead, as Zap Cam marks from long range. For the suffixes, for the full HP build, you will want 7 Violent. If you can get Shrapnel suffix, then you can put that on the gun. And if you get Downstar, you can put that on the shoes and bottom pieces. Now for the Lunar build, low HP, you will want to change only 2 things, which is going to be Lunar Helmet and Top Piece Lunar. Of course, use the Shrapnel suffix on the gun if you have that available, and Downstar if you have that on the shoes and bottom pieces. Now, we're changing only one mod here, which is the Rush Hour. And for the top piece, you could put Ardent Shield because it is a low HP build. And Ardent Shield, it will basically make the mobs not one-shot you if you have a shield available. Now, if you don't have a shield, then don't use the Hardened Shield because it will literally do nothing. Because it only works when you have a shield available. The way how you get a shield is basically have the Cradle equipped, which is this one. Deviant Energy Defense. When you summon your Zap Cam or your Deviation, you just get a shield. Instead, you can also wear 4 Treacherous pieces for an additional shield too, but for max damage, you go with 3 Treacherous and 2 Lone Wolf. The reason why we're using Rush Hour is because you get 36% weapon damage bonus. The more HP you lose, the more damage you get. So 4% every 10% HP lost, which in total we can lose 90%, which is 36%. The armor that we changed is 3 Treacherous pieces right here, and you just use only 2 Lone Wolf pieces. The keyword armor stays the same. The calibration stays the same. The food buff stays the same, and the height stays the same. Now, if you click for details here, here's what you need to focus for the substats. It will be gray ones, crit damage, weapon damage, and you have to prioritize these substats in order. 6% gray ones on all mods first, then after you get weapon damage and then crit damage. Doesn't really matter after all the order you get, but the most important one is great ones. As for the Shrapnel suffix, which goes on the gun, you'll want to get Shrapnel damage bonus, Shrapnel crit damage, gray ones, gold 1, and then lastly Shrapnel weak spot damage is the least you need to worry about. If you get gold weak spot damage and green crit damage, that's also fine. Also keep in mind that getting all of these 3 substats right here, which is weak spot and crit damage, is extremely rare. So you will need some time to roll these mods. If you click for details here, this preset is for overall use. As it says here on the dock, overall short presets. If you go to overall min-max, that's the one that you want to use for overall in general use, for bossing. But we also have a Manibus preset over here. This is for strictly just Manibus. I'm not going to go into detail why we're using what, but basically everything is listed here, as I don't want the video to be too long. If you want to run Manibus casually, use this preset here, 2x crit rate. But if you want to try hard or just finish it very quickly and save some time, then use this preset right here. For the Manibus preset, we're using 2 Falcon pieces and 3 Treacherous and crit damage calibration. The reason why we're using crit damage is because we are stacking the kukri so much with the axe together. That way, the preset can be found here, Manibus 2x crit damage, so you will have too much crit rate to the point that you don't want to camp out on crit rate. That's why we're using crit damage calibration here 2x, and that will get you 16 to 24. Together, you'll get up to 374 damage of crit, and you will still have 95% crit rate because we're using the axe, the kukri all together, plus the targeted strike, crit amplifier, 30% comes from the shrapnel smash. So for Manibus, this preset is insane. You can kill Manibus in 29 seconds up till 30 seconds. You have to boost your damage by so much. So there's ice cubes. You can get those by ice pots. Ice pots will make you ice cubes and you can claim them from here. They can be thrown on the ground, which then you can use the axe to hit them. And when you hit it with the axe, you get 8% crit rate. As you can see, for every target hit, heavy attacks grant weapons crit rate 8%. The buff stays for 15 seconds, so it's very long. You can check your crit rate over here, 28%. If I hit it again, if you minus 24 out of that, that's 41.9. That's how much I actually have without any buffs. So it stays for a very long time. Boom, it disappeared, and now we have 41.9. If you do 2 ice cubes together with the axe, then equip the kukri, then equip the cleaver, break it all, then your damage will be extremely high because of all these multipliers stacking together. What the kukri does, it gives you 30% attack multiplier. It's a separate multiplier. That's why it boosts so much damage. And you get crit rate 15% for 10 seconds. For the cleaver, it gives you 30% attack as well, which is the same multiplier as the kukri gives. Separate, same multiplier that stacks together. So you will want to use the cleaver together with the kukri. Let's say I'm doing Manibus right now in Endless Dreams. There's Manibus spawning here. So all I need to do is just throw 2 ice cubes, like so, equip the axe, break, hit it 2 times, equip the kukri, equip the cleaver, boom, mark the boss, and you start DPSing the boss pretty much. You can see how much damage we're doing. The shrapnels go up till 21k. Now since the buffs disappeared, now we're gonna only do 12k with shrapnel. So that's how you really use these kukris and cleavers all together. These ice pots can be obtained from doing Winter Salo, which is found exactly over here. Securement Salo Psi Divergence. Divergence? Okay. You just clear the boss and the ice pot can drop or not. To get the cleaver and the kukri, you will need to spam bosses that are in pro mode for the kukri, which is going to be here. Spam it. It's RNG to get it. It's not going to drop in one go. And for the cleaver, you just need to do hard mode. Anything that is level 50 will drop you the cleaver tier 5. You want tier 5, not tier 4 or tier 1. And you can spam Light Dreamers level 40 to level 50 up to level 80. That will get you the kukri as well, easily. And now, the ranking for the weapon. What is this car ranked at? The tier list that I have made is being updated every single week or every 2 weeks. After my testing, the Scar sits at S tier. Really, it's not really an S tier, more like an S to A tier, but I put it in S tier overall because it's very good for speedrunning all the stuff in the game. It's good. It's a good farming weapon and it just works. The tier list will be in my Discord channel. Why do we place an S tier? Well, single target damage is insane for it. You can spam farm Dr. Mannheim with it. Manibus is very easily to kill. With the Scar, you can easily kill Secret Servitor because the Servitor has multiple weak spots and the Shrapnel utilizes on these weak spots and hits his weak spots for you. It's very good for X1. It's good enough for Sigma, good for Alpha as well. For Terra, PHI, Psy, Delta, Taurus, and Psy, all these Winter Salos, they're not that great, but not so bad either. It's just A tier, which just sits in a not too bad spot, in a good spot. A tier means it's just okay. That's why the gun is from S to A++ tier. Now, of course, you can also spam Shadowhound with it, but only if the mutation is not too bad. If it's bad, then just stick to Primal Rage. It's not really, the gun is not that usable. But yeah, since the gun is a crit build, it works great even on non-weak spot enemies. You can find this ranking in the sheets over here. Now for the choice of ammo, you will usually want to run, the cheapest option is gunpowder, tungsten rifle AP ammo. If you're running Salos with Rosetta, use penetration ammo. If you're clearing Salos, use Stardust Ingot suppression ammo, which is zombies and deviants that you kill. And if you want the max output damage in monoliths, then you can use Smart Rifle AP ammo. Since in monoliths, suppression ammo does not work, neither does the Stardust double jump. Now there are multiple ways to lower your sanity. One of the best is to just use 4 polluted water. Only the chef class can do this, so you would just need to, you go to creative cooking, add 4 polluted water, and then add 4 dirty water. This will give you a large boiled water, which then you can use to lower your sanity. As you can see, my sanity is, I don't have any sanity, and the large boiled water will remove 800 of your sanity, which caps out in one go. 800 is the cap. Again, only the chef class is able to do this, and you cannot do this on no OI server. Now for the mutations, as you saw, I did Servitor with Boom Boom. The boss takes 70% damage in normal state and 125 when affected by consecutive buffs. The reason why we do more damage with Boom Boom rather than Wildfire is because The boss has minus 30% damage reduction, which is huge. And you actually remove that 30% when you mark the boss with Boom Boom, or when you make it burn. And then you deal extra, 25% extra as a separate multiplier, which boosts your damage again by so much. If you try doing it with Wildfire, it will be a slower run compared to Boom Boom. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for this video. If you guys have any questions, you can always leave them down below in the comment section, or just join my Discord and ask there. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care, and peace out.